Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of the Mandatory Live. I'm Shantelle Chand, obviously joined alongside Bryan Fonseca. If you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels, and you'll see on the screen if you're watching this on YouTube the ways that you can connect with us, or if you're listening to this on the audio side, you'll also see that in the description below. Lots to get into today. And remember, we're doing this every Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. That's our lock time for our show. We finally have a set schedule. So join us every Thursday morning or afternoon, depending on what coast you're on. But lots to get into. We already got comments from our very good friend of the show, Jesus. He said really quickly, Muratalla shows there's levels in pro level versus Andy Cruz. We are going to talk about that later on in the show. We're also going to talk a little bit about Zuffa Boxing. We're going to get into all the fights this weekend, Bryan, because there is a lot. There's not just one, and I know a lot of people are talking about Teo and Shakur. That will be coming up, so don't worry about that. But MVP, Bryan, just signed 6 new fighters. Let's talk about this first before we get into everything.
Yeah, this is going to be super quick. We hope. So here we go. We are sharing screen. We're going to share screen a lot this episode. I'm letting y'all know right now. There's so much to share. Okay. We have 6 new signees at MVP. You see it here on the screen via their Instagram account. This is a really, really, let me actually just make this a little bit easier so that I can also see.
Sheesh.
All right. You have here Tiara Brown, who's champion right now, featherweight, which sets up for potentially some interesting fights.
Some very interesting fights, by the way.
Yeah, you have O'Shea Jones, who may or may not at some point fight Tam Tebow, Clarissa Shields, 154-pound champion, Michaela Mayer. There's some interesting fights that you can make with her in the future. Julie Polka, who is from, I think, Misfits. I'm not as familiar with her, but apparently is 4-0 in that form of combat. So, and she's apparently very popular online, but I'm not too hip. I'm not going to lie. Leona Cruz, who we've probably talked about the most on this show of the 6 of these. Leona Cruz, who is supremely skilled, hasn't really fought a high level of competition yet, but is, by all accounts, including her own, itching to prove herself against high level competition. She'll get a chance to do that now. Miranda Reyes, who is very tough. She's kind of just lost to the best, Caroline Dubois, Stephanie Hahn. She's going to be in some interesting fights. I wonder how they're going to matchmake her at super featherweight. And then who I think might be the best prospect out of here, Elise Soto, who is 22, maybe. She's young. And she is a bit of a knockout artist. Now, also has to fight better competition, but she has a good chance of being Amanda Serrano 2.0, is what I would say.
Yeah, and obviously you can see the Puerto Rican flag right there on her wardrobe. But she's legit, though. I mean, she does have the power, and there's been a lot of hype on her, but obviously we got to see her fight better competition. But MVP doing its thing, and in the business of women's boxing. Women's boxing is MVP monopoly of a women's boxing. Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna keep it real though. They're pretty much taking over a market that really nobody has really taken over, and they're focusing on that. And women's boxing is growing at a rapid rate. It's exciting, and there's money in it. And we know that Turk is not trying to support women's boxing, because if he was, he would have been doing it. He put on one women's fight. right?
That's
And
the market
we're
inefficiency. Dana
yeah,
White doesn't seem like he's going to go that route heavily either. But
yeah, and I haven't seen. We're gonna talk about Zuffa too, but yeah, MVP making signings. This is great for women's boxing, and despite what you think about Jake Paul, great businessman, and the fights he's putting on has been legit, and he's been really trying to grow the sport. So props to him. Brian, any final thoughts before we move away and go to Teo and Shakur?
one topic down, 7 to go. All right, let's go. We have a card this weekend at Madison Square Garden. I actually won't be there because there are 2 other cards going on, and we're gonna do a post-fight show after the fact.
Yes.
Although I did interview Eddie Hearn yesterday, and I'll be posting that on my channel probably sometime this afternoon. Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson is one of the fights of the year on paper in terms of star in their prime versus star in their prime. Both are arguably pound for pound top 10 right now. I think the winner will be on everyone's list if they're not already. And I think the loser, if they put up a good enough performance, could hang on to their spot in this list. We'll see. But this is a great, great fight, and it's honestly a good card, Shantelle. Like Carlos
Yeah.
Adames, you get to see him back out. This is the first time he fought since the Hamza Shiraz fight, and that was in February of last year, where I thought he got robbed. We're gonna see him against Ambo Williams, who has got some pop, and actually is somebody who lost to Hamza Shiraz, if I remember that correctly. Um, Keyshawn Davis, Jermaine Ortiz, Bruce Carrington, Carlos Castro. It's an interesting fight there for a vacant WBC featherweight title. Bruce Carrington was the interim champion, did not get elevated to full champion. Actually, the WBC is like, you know what, you're going to fight for the vacant title. Although they did elevate Christian Mbili, who is now apparently a super middleweight champion at 168. And Jarrell Miller is going to be on this card as well. So we'll see how that goes. What takeaways from mainly the main event, but honestly, this card overall, because I think up and down, it's pretty good.
Yeah, no, this card is dope. I'm a big fan of Carlos Castro. And obviously Bruce Carrington is really good, but you guys know the type of fighters I like. So obviously I like Carlos Castro a lot. I'm a big fan of his. I think that's a great fight. I think Carrington will be able to get it done, but it's going to be a very, very tough fight. Obviously, Keyshawn back in the ring after his antics, and I'm hoping to see a good performance. Jermaine Ortiz, though, do not sleep on him. A very tricky fighter, a very good fighter, and I think a lot of people sleep on him. I'm the biggest Carlos Adames fan, and like I don't know if people know that, but I'm so excited to see him back in the ring. And I also do want to see what Jarrell Miller looks like because I think he's the biggest question mark on this card, Brian. We don't know what we're going to get for him and what type of Jarrell Miller he is. But this is a really, really good card. But obviously, the main focus, Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, this is actually going down. So much hype leading to the actual announcement. Now we're finally here, Brian. Like Brian mentioned, we're doing the post-fight show. So after the final bell, we're going to be talking about the entire card and obviously breaking down the fight. But Brian, let's get into Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson. We're also going to share the screen with some odds because we got to talk betting. Before we get into that, though, Brian, how do you see this fight going? And then we'll talk about how you're going to be betting.
Oh my goodness. This fight is just ridiculous to try to handicap, right? To me, Shakur Stevenson by decision is going to be what most people will lean on. I think that's like the safest sort of prediction you could make, and what have you. I do think, however, like Teofimo Lopez obviously has like the skill, the athleticism. I would even say overall the ability to win this fight. It's just a matter of can he piece it all together. Now, Shakur Stevenson's best wins, we've talked about this before. Like William Zepeda is up there. Jamel Herring is probably up there considering that he stopped him and took the title from him. Oscar Valdez is probably the number one win on his resume. Teofimo Lopez beat Vasily Lomachenko and is the only one to do so convincingly. And that was already 5-6 years ago. So can he still tap into that? I just wonder a lot of different things. But he has like the sort of the caginess, the ability to have that herky jerky style and try to pick off Shakur Stevenson a little bit to actually land some straight right hands. If he's able to disguise it a little bit, he's gonna have to feint a shit ton to win this fight. I don't love the idea of backing him just because he's such a wild card. I do think he's gonna bring it, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough. And I think with Shakur Stevenson, like he may just be able to sit in the pocket and win. But I think I think Teofimo Lopez is gonna have to try to make him very uncomfortable. Like, you have to bully him a little bit. You have to push him around. You have to shove him. You have to be borderline dirty. Like, make him really uncomfortable. Make him fight a fight that he doesn't want to fight. Because Shakur is going to want to sit back and counter, abuse you with that straight left hand, hit you to the body, and just keep his distance. And Teofimo Lopez has to try to take all of that away by roughing him up and basically doing what Marcos Maidana did to Adrian Broner.
Yeah, I think this is a fight where it could go either way, but I think, like Brian said, most people are probably going to take Shakur by decision, and that would be the safe bet. That would be the smart bet. In terms of Brian saying that Teofimo Lopez would have to make it dirty, if you remember in one of the pressers or one of their interviews, Teofimo Lopez was asked how he was going to neutralize Shakur Stevenson, and he was like, "I'm not saying I'm going to fight dirty." But he knows the way that he has to fight in order to beat Shakur Stevenson, because Shakur Stevenson, here's the thing. This fight is actually going to be really entertaining or boring as hell, because Shakur Stevenson is so good defensively, but Teofimo Lopez has the footwork and the angles to get to him. He's going to have to use his angles really, really well in this fight to touch Shakur, because Shakur doesn't really get hit often. But I think if there's one fighter that can use his angles and his footwork, because I actually think Teofimo Lopez has better footwork than Shakur Stevenson. I'll say that. They both have really good jabs. Teo has to fight a smart fight, and he does have to fight a little bit dirty. But I think Shakur Stevenson, for the most part, I think he's going to try to keep the distance. He's going to play it safe. He's going to use the jab. He's going to get to the body, and he's going to try not to get hit a lot. I don't think this is going to be a Shakur Stevenson fight where he's like trying to, really bully Teo. He's going to play a smart fight. And so with that being said, Teo is going to try to close the gap the entire time. And that's going to be the interesting part. And he's going to have to fight a little bit dirty and get a little rough. Not make it a brawl, because I don't think Shakur Stevenson will engage in that. It's all about the footwork to me in this fight, Brian. But if you want to pull up the odds right now, we could probably get into that and how you're going to be betting this fight. Who is your pick for this fight? Do you want to give your odds first? Yeah.
We'll pull up the odds in a second. I just want to show you this video first. So this is from something that they did where they said,
I saw this.
Opponent.
Yeah, I saw
want
this.
to play this for the people. It was posted on social media. It's really funny. I also can't stand this hat, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway.
A 7.
6.
Ring IQ. An 8.
7.
Footwork. 4.
A 4.
Power. 2.
I can't tell you. I ain't been in there with him yet.
Jab. 6.
He got a solid jab, so I'll give him like a 6.
Chin. 3.
I mean, he look like he got a solid chin on him, so I'll give him a 7.
His style. 5.
Style awkward, give him a 5.
His resume. 1.
Resumes are kind of overrated in the sport of boxing. I can't even tell you. His resume is good, I guess.
His heart. 0.
I give him a 9. He got heart.
Trash talking. -1.
I give him a 2. He's terrible.
Defense.
I'll say what though, Shakur lying on Teo's resume. That's why he ain't answer that. He knows Teo's resume is way better than his.
He said resumes are overrated, which
They're not.
I feel like that's what you're judged on, not in boxing, like period.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of judged on follower count now, but even in what we do, and more so in what we do to anything else, you're judged on your resume, or at least you should be, not your follow count, or your subscribers or whatever the fuck. And I feel like in boxing, like that's what matters. Like that's when we have these conversations about who's the best. Like the resume is what dictates that.
Nah, like Shakur was straight gaslighting there. The resume matters. Teo has a way better resume than him. Teo said for his resume he gave him a 1. I saw this yesterday and I was laughing. Great video though. But let's get into the odds right here. Shakur Stevenson -320. And it looks like Teofimo Lopez, obviously the underdog right there at a +230. +230 for Teofimo Lopez is great odds, but that's if you think he's going to be able to outbox and outskill Shakur Stevenson. And that's kind of the issue. Teo can do it. Teo is very skilled as well, and he's a great counterpuncher. But when you're going up someone that has a very, very high IQ, Brian, I think that's going to be hard to do. I don't see a knockout in this fight.
I'd be surprised. Be very surprised. I mean, Shakur on points is -210. Like, I'm probably not betting this fight,
I'm gonna make a
because
parlay because there's a lot of fights. So I'm betting a parlay and I'm putting Shakur by decision, even though it's like minus 200 or whatever. But if you put like a whole bunch of stuff on there, you could probably win a good
I don't
amount.
think this. I don't think this will be a fun sweat either way. A draw at plus 1500 is actually the thing that gets my attention the most.
You think
because
there might be a draw in this one?
I think that could happen. Yeah, because here's the thing: Shakur sometimes can take too long to get going.
Yeah.
Like he can give up too many rounds. So in the Williams Zepeda fight, he probably gave up 3. And then I would say in the fight against Edwin de los Santos, I mean, some people think he gave up like half the fight as he was, navigating through that one. I'm hoping that we don't get that. The other wild card here is Shakur Stevenson, like Floyd Mayweather, who people compare him to,
Yeah.
has dealt with hand injuries. What if he throws a body shot in the 3rd round, he hurts his hand, and then he has to try to win this fight one-handed? Like that he's had to win multiple times basically with an injured hand before. So like there are a lot of elements to this that are interesting. Minus 210 on decision by decision. I don't love that. It almost damn near makes me look at Teofimo Lopez at plus 420. And I'm like, you know what? Like if he beat like a prime version of Lomachenko, why can't, granted at lightweight, so not Lomachenko's best weight class, I would say his best weight classes were at 126 and 130.
Yeah.
But still, like Shakur's also moving up to 140. And we haven't seen him in this weight class yet. I think overall he's better. Like he is a better all-around boxer. But I don't think I can sit here and say, yeah, he's definitively going to win this fight. Like no doubt about it. Like I don't have like 100,000,000% confidence because Teofimo Lopez is such a wild card, and just talent for talent, he's up there with anybody in and around his weight class.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on anything that you just said, but some great points in the fact that this is Shakur Stevenson's first fight at 140 pounds. He's not been proven in this weight class, but the only thing is, Brian, I think at some point Teo's going to be a welterweight. I mean, sorry, Shakur Stevenson is going to be a welterweight.
Teo might too, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, he's talked about moving up to 147. So this is going to be a really good fight. Obviously, Brian's not really betting on this one. I just don't see it being a draw.
Plus 1500.
I don't see it being a draw, and it's not that I'm sleeping on Teo. I like Teofimo Lopez, despite all of his antics and racist comments made in the past. I will say this though, he plays around a lot, right? So for me, it's just I think Shakur's that good. And I think this is going to be wider than people think. I don't think that Teo's going to be able to close the gap. I think he's going to struggle to close the gap on Shakur. I think Shakur's going to play it safe. I think this could be a fight that is maybe 8 rounds to 4, Brian. Something like that. That's what I'm thinking. And if I'm wrong, we'll talk about it on the post-fight show. I don't think this is going to be as close as people think, because we don't know what type of Teofimo Lopez we're going to get. And that's the thing. I think he's more focused than ever. This is arguably, other than Loma, other than Josh Taylor, Teo has a great resume. This is a huge fight in terms of notoriety and respect, right? Because people are leaving Teofimo Lopez off the pound for pound list, except for if you're on my pound for pound list. So this fight means a lot to them in terms of also cachet. And here's the thing. They have to put on a good performance. I said it could be a sleeper, a snoozer. It better not be. These are 2 fighters that are, the young boxers in the game and 2 of the biggest names. This cannot be a snoozer. If they don't put on a good show, a lot of people are going to be disappointed. And then if Shakur wins, puts on a boring performance, they're going to be like, oh, he's boring again. We're going to have that same conversation. Brian, I already told you who I think is going to win. I think Shakur Stevenson wins by decision. I think it's going to be like 8 rounds to 4. I think it's going to be that wide. What's your prediction on like what the scorecards might be or how the rounds might go?
Yeah, formally, I will say, I think this could be a majority decision. I was looking at that at plus 1300. Like I could see one judge seeing it a draw and the other 2 having it like 116, 112, 8 rounds to 4 for Shakur Stevenson. But it's just Teofimo, man. Like I thought he was not a dead man walking going into the Josh Taylor fight, but it didn't look great, and he was just acting weird, and
And he looked phenomenal. He fought. That was one of his best fights.
It was one of his best performances.
Yeah.
This is a great performance that he put it all together. Now you could say Josh Taylor was a little more inactive. He was older, obviously not as good as Shakur Stevenson, but that's still a tough fight, especially for someone who is moving up in weight. He had moved up by that point. but not naturally a guy who's at 140, where Josh Taylor's big for that weight class, or was big for that weight class. Like, it took him too long, honestly, to move up to welterweight. And Teofimo Lopez just outboxed him and won, I think, more rounds than the judges gave him credit for. I thought he whooped his ass that night. And then he legitimately beat Vasily Lomachenko. I did not have that, like, for Loma at all. I didn't think it was a draw. I thought Teofimo Lopez won that clearly, either 7-5 or 8-4, probably 8-4. If I recall correctly. I haven't seen the fight in a while, and I actually do plan on watching it tomorrow or Saturday morning prior to this fight. So we have mad other shit to talk about. We both think Shakur Stevenson is going to win by decision. I'm probably looking at like maybe majority decision, and I do think a draw is worth sprinkling on, because listen, if he could make Shakur Stevenson uncomfortable and steal enough rounds and be the aggressor and has, you know, judging that will favor aggression, then that's something that could work in his favor. But it's just a lot of ifs for somebody who is just the ultimate wild card and who has underperformed in multiple big fights in the past.
Yeah, drop your comments. Let us know who you're taking in this fight. Let us know if you agree with Brian on
We got some.
possible draw, a possible split decision. Please let us know. Let's get to some comments really quickly, actually, though, before we move on to the next one. Let's get to our good friend Ryan Hong, 444, who says Teo is winning. Listen, Ryan has predicted a lot of fights before. Solid friend of the show. Jesus says probably be a draw to guys relevant. Okay. Foxy, our UK correspondent. I can never bet on Teo ever again after that Camboso's disaster class. Yeah, listen, it was just he didn't prepare for that fight. And that's what I'll always say. Like, he just thought he was going to go in there and knock him out. And that was the thing, right? Jesus also says, I can see a draw Teo versus Stevenson to keep guys relevant. You never know. Ryan Hong also says D2 guys are so effing petty. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And in terms of the resume, Jesus says resume to Shakur means he doesn't want to face the best. Yeah, because he's kind of gaslighting us. Also, Foxy says resume doesn't matter to boxers who have average resumes. That's what I think. I don't actually think Shakur has like that crazy of a resume, and I've always said that. There's nothing that pops out at me on his resume.
For Shakur?
Yeah, like I like the Oscar Valdez. William Zepeda.
That's the
was
one
never,
to me.
William Zepeda was never like that high on my list. Great fight for him to fight, though, in terms of styles. I think Teo's resume blows Shakur's out the water, and I'll say that every time. Shakur's resume's gotten a little bit better, and maybe, you know, he says a lot, like, so a lot of people don't want to fight him. Listen, like, the Oscar Valdez wasn't Oscar Valdez though when he fought Shakur, though. I'll say that. Like, he was at the tail end of his career. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't seen the same Oscar Valdez. I don't know if we see. I don't even know if we've seen the same Oscar Valdez though for like 3 years.
I don't know. Wasn't Oscar Valdez undefeated going into that? Yeah, I think he was.
But he was getting older at that point. He had already been in a war with Miguel Burchell. But... like, he had been in wars by that time, right? And every fight that Oscar Valdez fought was like a war, right? Like, you think about how many boxing years that took off. And I'm the biggest Oscar Valdez fan. Everyone knows that if you watch this show. And I was extremely disappointed in that fight, but it's Shakur. But I'm not big on Shakur's resume. I think he's a great fighter, but I just think Teo has a better resume than him. And I'll stand on that. And that's why he's on my pound for pound list.
Oscar Valdez was undefeated. He was 31, and he did break in a little early. So he had been a pro for 10 plus at that point.
Yeah, and he had been in wars, Brian. Like, we're talking wars.
I'm not taking that away from Shakur. Like,
I'm not taking it away from him.
He beat another champion. You know what I mean? He beat him very easily. He dropped him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't. It might not matter in this fight. Like, Shakur might just win. And now Ryan says it's going to be a draw now. On second thought, 100,000%. I think we could see some shenanigans. We should keep it going with the fights this weekend, because there are other fights this weekend before we get into some of the Zuffa stuff that we want to get to, and also Tyson Fury going to be on Netflix soon. Okay. Also this weekend, we have 2 other fights at 154. The one that will get a little bit more attention, even though it'll air somewhere, Top Rank Classics. Do you have Roku? If you have, you know, I don't know how to find that shit.
Oh my God. Where is this fight?
Top Rank Classics.
I hate this. Like, what is Top Rank doing?
This is Xander Zayas, who's Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn. This is after I spoke to him, but he did an interview with Ariel Helwani because everyone who comes to New York does Ariel's show, obviously. And he was like, "Yo, Xander Zayas is one of the biggest stars in boxing, and no one's talking about his fight, and it's a good unification fight, and no one knows where he's fighting." Like, kind of taking a little jab at Bob Arum there, but it's also true. It's like Bob Arum is acting his age here, and waiting for a TV deal that doesn't appear to come, and it's like, yo, you guys have the budget to just do this on YouTube. If Pro Box can do it, you can do it. And I don't know why they just don't do this on YouTube instead of making people click 7 different things to find top ranked classics on like Tubi or Roku or Pluto TV or whatever it is.
Yo, you know what though? Like, I think Bob Arum, he's a little bit older, so he's looking for the TV deal. Just go to Amazon or something. Like, just go anywhere. Just get off Roku. Like, let's stop doing this. ESPN's not gonna. You guys have already left ESPN. Go somewhere else. Like, go to a streaming.
No,
service.
ESPN left them.
Well, yeah.
ESPN was like, we're good.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that, like, Top Rank at this point, they don't have a deal. They have to go somewhere, Brian. Like, this is unacceptable. Just go to Amazon. Just stream it on Amazon. They have a deal with PBC. Maybe they'll want to have a deal with Top Rank. I don't know where else they'd go.
I don't think PBC is benefiting that much from the Amazon deal, considering that they're not really like, what are they getting out of it? You know, like
I mean, they're not even putting on the same fights as they were like every month.
Yeah, they're not.
We'll get into it for Zuffa. Let's talk about the Xander Zayas card. And Brian, when
event
you see
start
card,
time 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Main event approximately 10 p.m. Eastern time. They probably want to get that in before Teofimo versus Shakur of the U.S. on the Top Rank Classics channel on Roku, Tubi, and Vizio to watch. Mobile or desktop, sounds like an ad. Mobile or desktop, you can visit trboxing.com/Top Rank Classics and check the availability of the fast channel apps on your smart TV, or look for that's in an ad. Look for the Top Rank Classics channel. Then you got people with fire emojis. Meanwhile, I'm like, what what did you just tell me to do? Like, it's ridiculous. But the card itself is fine. Xander Zayas, I think wins this by decision in what I think will be a pretty tough fight. Abass Baraou was not expected to beat Yoenis Tellez at the time that they fought, but he did. He's a champion, and he goes right into a unification. Respect. Top Rank is trying to build Xander Zayas, not just from a champion standpoint, but also from the standpoint of having a position of power by being the only guy with 2 titles in this weight class. Virgil Ortiz. Well, Sebastian Fundora, I suppose, still has them until he fights Keith Thurman. We'll see if that still is the case. They're supposed to fight again in March. So I think they're trying to create a position of leverage here by getting him a second title. I don't think it'll be an easy fight, but it's definitely winnable. And otherwise on the card, like Rohan Polanco's here. It would be great to see him again. Juanmita Lopez de Jesus is going to be on the card. Santillán is back against Courtney Pennington, out here still doing it. God, I remember watching Courtney Pennington 10 years ago when he was a journeyman then. And he's still out here getting these checks. Yuri Cedeno. So I think it's a fun Top Rank card that I wish was on ESPN Plus, but it's not.
how do you think the Zayas fight's gonna play out?
Decision, Zayas. I think so. Baraou is interesting, right? Like, forgetting his reach, he's 5'9.5", so he's not big for this weight class. So Xander's going to be able to box him, and I wouldn't say there's going to be a ton of power coming back to him. Now, he did drop Tellez in round 12 of their fight in August, but I think Zayas is just going to have the skill to get it done, and he'll counterpunch his way to a 12-round decision. I don't think he'll try to brawl a ton, mix it up. If he gets a stoppage, I think it'll be late. I'd be a little bit surprised. And Barou's only loss on his record, honestly, was kind of a robbery, and it was against Jack Coquet. If people remember him being competitive at 154, he should have won that fight. So I think to me, this is really undefeated fighter versus undefeated fighter.
Yeah, and the thing that's going to be interesting about this fight, and why I actually don't think it's going to be an easy fight for Xander Zayas, is because Abass Baraou, he's a pressure fighter. And so if he's able to cut off the ring and get Xander Zayas on the ropes, he does have power. I think he could give Xander Zayas some problems, but I think Xander Zayas, with his ring IQ, he's going to move around the ring. He's going to try to fight him at a distance. I don't think Xander Zayas is going to try to get into a brawl with Baraou, but Baraou is a pressure fighter. So it's going to be interesting to see if Xander Zayas can keep this fight in the middle of the ring. But Barou's going to keep coming forward, and that's his game plan. So it'll be interesting to see how Xander Zayas tries to neutralize him in the ring. But Baraou, if he is able to get Xander Zayas on the ropes and cut off the ring, that's going to be an issue for Xander. And so it's going to be interesting to see Xander's footwork, which I was kind of hoping would be a little bit better at this point, and to see how he's kind of grown as a fighter. But I do see Xander Zayas getting the victory. But I think Baraou could steal some rounds from him in this one, Brian. I still think it's going to be like maybe 8-4. Baraou might win 3 rounds, to something like that.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a very, very difficult fight for Xander Zayas. I think it's going to be one of his toughest tests, actually. And he is defending his title in this one. And yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. But I got Xander Zayas winning by decision.
Minus 250. Great.
Yeah.
So you could parlay Shakur by decision and Xander Zayas by decision, which I think Shantelle is going to do, as a matter of fact. I may do that. We'll see. 250. Yeah. I don't love that it's minus 250, but let's be real. It's also in Puerto Rico, so tie goes to the runner. I think if Xander Zayas is in a really close fight and people think, oh, it's a draw, Abass Baraou, I think he'll get some home cooking if it's close. But I do think he could legitimately win this. But he has to be careful. He has to be real careful. I think this is a step up in competition. Obviously, it's a champion, and it's going to be it should be his toughest fight.
He has to avoid constant pressure in this fight. So he's going to be fighting at a distance, and I cannot wait to see this. I kind of wish like all these fights were on the same day, but nonetheless, I'm definitely going to try to catch it. Brian, what's the next fight on the docket that we should be talking about?
Very briefly, we'll talk about, in the same weight class, Bakhram Murtazaliev is back out of hiding.
Yes.
Well, actually looking for a fight. People were hiding from him. He's going to be defending against Josh Kelly. So Eddie Hearn promoting this and the Garden card. I don't know if he's going to like private jet his way to New York from Newcastle, or I don't know how that's going to go. But I think Josh Kelly's going to lose this fight. This is where I'm at. I think this one, it's not even my favorite fight on the card. And Ryan will feel me here. Ryan Hong in the chat. Elif Nurturan is on the card, and she's going to be defending her title less than 2 months after her last fight. And she's, as we mentioned, a monster on my pound for pound. And she's going to be incredible. So fun title defense. I think that's the fight to watch here. Also, Josh Padley fighting for a European championship, which is not nothing. He moved down to super featherweight, which is noteworthy here, given that he fought Shakur at lightweight. And on very, 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 very short notice. Super featherweight's a better weight class for him. We'll see what that does. But I think Josh Kelly could get stopped here, if I'm being honest.
I think he is going to get stopped. I think we're going to see Murtazaliev have a great finish in this one and have a statement victory. He's tough. And it's going to, after we see the Xander Zayas fight and the Murtazaliev fight, we're going to have some more conversations to have. But I think a lot of people are saying he's the boogeyman in this division.
I worry about ring rust. We didn't see him last year at all. And he hasn't fought since he beat the fucking shit out of Tim Tszyu in 3 rounds. So I'm now remembering. Eddie Hearn pronounces his name Murtazaliev, so maybe that's the correct actual way to say it. Regardless, I think he's going to win this fight. And I just worry about ring rust, but I mean, a guy like this, I'm sure that he's going to be on the road, so you could argue, hey, you might have to win this fight by stoppage. But when you take a look at the odds, I mean, he's minus 370, and to win by knockout, he minus 140.
I would take that. I would take those odds and put it on my parlay with the 2 decisions with Xander Zayas and Shakur Stevenson. I think Murtazaliev is going to be too much for Josh Kelly. There's too much power. He's gonna use his body against him, impose his will. It's gonna be too much for Josh Kelly, in my opinion.
I'm building the parlay for you now. So I'm gonna tell you
Do it.
right now what the odds are gonna be. So we have Murtazaliev by stoppage. We have Xander by decision, Shakur by decision, and this is plus 254 at this particular book. Shop around. Maybe you can get closer to
Okay.
300 elsewhere. But and if you have a boost, if you have like a free play, I would say it'd be wise to use it. There are probably some other fights you could lump in. I don't love doing parlays that much. That's really all we have on that card, to be honest. We have
I'm
other
like,
stuff in there, too.
I do too many parlays if you ask me. You know what I'm saying?
I can verify this. Yeah.
I always send Brian like a ridiculous parlay, like, yo, I just hit this shit.
And it's
But
like 12 legs. I'm like, how do you like have the patience for this?
I don't know. It was ridiculous. I hit this one really ridiculous one. You got to make a ridiculous parlay every weekend. That's what I do. Anyways, nonetheless, let us know how you're going to be betting this fight. Brian, I think we should quickly move on to Zuffa Boxing. We have a lot to get to, but there was an article that was put out on The Guardian. And as you know, Zuffa Boxing debuted. Brian, you did a little bit on your channel, but just quickly on here on the mandatory. What were your thoughts on Zuffa's first fight that they put on the broadcast? All of that. What were your thoughts?
Max Kellerman's washed.
Oh my God.
The dude that we heard a while ago is he is dead and gone, not coming back. Talking about how he's waited his entire life for this, and how like he's really doing a lot. Frankly, he doesn't need to. Also, I think that's really what it is. So that unfortunately was the biggest takeaway, because I'm a big like Max Kellerman admirer of his work from the HBO days, the ESPN days even, and now he's just kind of shilling for this company and this brand, and it feels like you should be above that. Like, you of all people, you shouldn't need to do this, but it is what it is. Everyone's calling him a sellout, so it's not even an original thought, but it is what it is. As far as the boxing itself, I thought the boxing itself was fine. There are things that I really don't like, and there are things that I think they're going to get right. My main like big picture thought is like, I don't like where all this is going to head, which I've been borderline an alarmist about, and I'm trying not to be for people. But then you have stories like these come out, which we're about to talk about, and it's like, well, see, this is kind of what we're bringing up here. I also hate the trunks.
Oh my God, it's mad corporate. All of it is super corporate
by design, because I think they want the star of the company to be the company. Like UFC, people go to fight in the UFC. They have like these uniforms that you can't, by the way, talking about limiting money, financial opportunities. If you follow any boxer on social media, if you follow any boxer who's maybe like a prospect, maybe coming up, less so if they're big at a champion, but if they're coming up, like we follow like Troy Isley, for example, I follow like Matthew Gonzalez, you follow these guys who are like coming up, and they'll post before a fight, they'll post a blank pair of boxing trunks, like a blank pair, and it will be like your logo here, and basically be like, hey, you can pay for like advertising on my trunks. Like, I'll support your business if you support, me, whatever, like just business stuff, right? And that's important because obviously you get money from that. It's a way to feed you. It's a way to support your training camp, support your ability to get sparring partners, support your ability to pay for a cut person, trainers, like equipment, all these different things. And when you're up and coming like that, even if you have a deal with a major promoter, it's something that could be hard to piece together, especially if you're trying to do this full time. And if you don't have those opportunities, that's difficult. So at Zuffa, you're not allowed to get sponsorships on your trunks. You wear this Zuffa uniform, the Zuffa Boxing uniform with the giant Z in the back. It has your name, it has your country flag, and that's kind of it. It's like the boxing's version of the UFC uniform. Remember, back in the day, UFC, you could have sponsorships, and they took that away because they wanted to be uniform. And you'll notice that from when the time they started doing that, there's been a shift. And there's been a shift in terms of, hey, the company has been more of the star, and people say UFC is a star problem, UFC is a star problem, and it's kind of by design where the UFC doesn't want anyone to outgrow their brand. Like they want to make stars and be popular, but they want the brand to be the star. The WWE is very similar, although they allow people to be expressive and things like that, but nobody really outgrows WWE. So they want to build Zuffa Boxing in the same exact way.
Yeah. And okay, so first with the trunks, and first off, like the logo is so like plain. I don't even know how they're trying to make it like a big thing, but even like the robes, everything, like it's very, very corporate. And the big thing about boxing is you're able to have your own style. It's a spectacle, right? When you're a superstar, you have like these entrances. A lot of people have done different things. Some fighters have come out on a throne, like, there's style to it. But for me, I thought Zuffa was like extremely, extremely corporate. As for Max Kellerman, used to be one of my favorite sports commentators ever. And really interesting to see him glaze Dana White and, do all this glazing for Zuffa Boxing because listen, with this report that's come out, and if you haven't seen it yet, you should go read The Guardian. It's a great article. But they're trying to pretty much, reform the Ali Act. And by doing that, they're trying to take away a lot of boxers' rights. And this is one of them, a way for them to make money. And at the same time, they're trying to have the corporation Zuffa be bigger than the boxers itself. And I mean, Oscar De La Hoya had a quote in there in The Guardian talking about this is a way for them to F over boxers. And they're going to listen, Dana White has a lot of power. He's really tight with the president. A lot of these bills are going to pass. But here's the thing is that he says Dana White has been on record saying like you can go and fight for these sanctioning bodies or you can come to Zuffa. They're trying to take the sanctioning bodies away. That's what they're trying to do. And when you have your own rankings, they might not even be the real rankings, right? You're having total control of the sport, and they're going to really be looking at, the young boxers that are coming up, the amateur boxers, and they're going to try to take over the sport that way. This is going to be something that happens within like 1 to 5 years where we really see the jump. But there's supposed to be a card this Sunday, Brian. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. I want to see how the second card goes. But not all in all, like, this is not good for boxing. And I will say that once again.
All right. Cliff notes for the story. Just to breeze through it, we have Eric McCracken, who is a combat sports lawyer, who went through this and posted some highlights if people don't want to go through the trouble of reading the entire thing. I didn't write it, so whatever. But if you want to be informed, I suggest you read it. But if you want the Cliff Notes version, we could help provide that too before we get into the actual Zuffa cards. Card coming up this weekend, as a matter of fact, which features Rayo Valenzuela, among others. Here we go. Eric notes, if the fighter declines to take a fight with Zuffa or take a fight that Zuffa offers him, it counts against one of his fights that Zuffa is obliged to offer him that year, which is an interesting little wrinkle. These things are going to have all these little wrinkles about it. He also knows, by the way, and this is one of the prominent things that's noted in the story, actually, that I should highlight right here. Sella owns 60% of Zuffa Boxing. TKO owns 40%.
Yeah.
Saudi, baby. That's Saudi money. This is why he another thing Max Kellerman said leading up to Canelo Crawford, he said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, but this is almost word for word, if Turkey wasn't born, this wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. No.
It's such an over-the-top thing to say. The Zuffa contracts are similar in some respects. I'm back here now. Similar in some respects to the contracts used by other major promoters. In other respects, they go further and make Don King's contracts look fighter friendly,
which is crazy. Like the Ali Act reform was because Don King was like controlling a lot of stuff and not being fair to fighters. Like, right. Come on, like that's crazy that it makes Don King's contracts look fighter friendly. You know what I'm saying?
The Zuffa contract further provides that if a fighter has an undercard bout and the main event is postponed or canceled, Zuffa can pull the fighter's fight down without any payment obligation to the undercard fighter.
Dude.
This is why the Ali Act stuff matters. And the Ali Act stuff did need updating. But again, not this. Like, this is not the solution.
You know what's crazy is everyone that's trying to amend the Ali Act, they're not even boxers. That's the issue here. Like,
You
there
know,
should be
no,
boxers fighting for their rights.
right. That's the bigger issue is none of these boxers, except for like Nico Ali Walsh, had said something. And
Of course.
by the way, he's no longer at Top Rank apparently.
Yeah.
But he says he will not go to Zuffa. He basically tweeted that out when he was asked by John Nash. And he's like, my morals are greater than money, which people will make fun of Nico Ali Walsh and whatever. Like, he's not as good, whatever. I respect how he carries himself. And for people can make fun of him, but he takes the Ali name very seriously, like very seriously. So
as he
I
should.
appreciate that.
And for the people that are saying he's not that good, he's never going to be as good as his grandfather. Like, what are we saying here, right? Like, Ali's the GOAT of all time, like in any sport, I'd say. But anyways, go ahead, Brian. Continue on.
Yeah, and I won't read all of these, but other rights given to Zuffa extend to the sale of virtual reality, augmented reality, hyper reality, artificial intelligence, and enhanced reality games and experiences, as well as motion pictures. Many of these rights extend non-exclusively in perpetuity. So they can do basically whatever they want once you sign that contract, which, listen, read your paperwork. Any of you who have a job, like, just always read, especially if you work for a company that like makes stuff and maybe it's a content, AI, whatever. Like, just yeah, man. If you have a friend that's a lawyer,
get your lawyer friend to check that out. I even get my agent or my lawyer to read over contracts, right? Because the companies will try to F you over. And let me tell you, the whole build for Zuffa is for Zuffa. It's not for the fighters. So as much as people are excited for Zuffa, as much as they're excited for, the monthly cards, whatever, man, like, a lot of fighters are going to be paying for this after. But nonetheless, Zuffa Boxing, this is going to be a continued topic that we're going to talk about, the Ali Act. But if you have any comments on anything, please drop them in the comments. Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we get to some comments here, Brian?
Yeah, I'll just read these last two because this is interesting as well. As noted, the contract requires that fighters wear only and the uniform approved by Zuffa during fights, as well as at pre and post bout events. And Zuffa even gets a range of relating to any gets a range of rights relating to any tattoos that the fighter may have on their body.
That's ridiculous. What?
So now, what does that actually mean? Like, what type of tattoos are you allowing and not allowing? Because then you're getting into like potential political messaging. And if you allow certain messaging from like who was the Patriots kicker that had like a borderline Nazi tattoo or whatever?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. Like, how far is this gonna go is what I wonder. You should not have fucking Nazi tattoos.
You can't even have, like, how the NFL, they have stuff like peace and love at the back of their helmets. You can't even have something like that.
Stop racism or end racism.
You can't have any of
that. Then they took it out of the end zone, and then everyone was like, hey, I guess racism is over now that the NFL took it off the end zone.
Yeah.
They still have it all over Madden 24. Yeah, so there's a lot here. I suggest you read it. As far as the actual card, and this is just a brief, like, just to see what happened on the first card. Kane Sandoval losing to Julian Rodriguez. Honestly, Kane Sandoval looked quite overrated in that fight. Julian Rodriguez is talented though. Callum Walsh,
unanimous decision.
Just give your best 60 seconds on Callum Walsh, because I know he makes you feel things, and not in a positive way. I know that you look at him and you're like, he's not what Dana White thinks he is. I know that for a fact because I know you so well.
I think Callum Walsh is overrated. I think he's a good fighter, but he's supposed to be the face of Zuffa Boxing, and he's not good enough to be the face of anything. That's what I think. I think he's average. There's nothing special about him. If he was so special, he would have probably got a stoppage against Ocampo. Like, let's be serious here. He went the distance with him, and there was nothing special about that fight. And he's a good fighter, but you stack him up against other dudes in his weight class. I don't think he's let's talk about that. Let's talk about Callum Walsh and his weight class, Brian. Would you take him above other guys in the weight class?
So he was 154, and now he's middleweight because
come on.
Apparently they're using 8 weight classes as opposed to 18, which that's difficult because in the UFC they trim down the weight classes, but you need some of those middleweight classes. I don't think you need like you have to jump from 112 to 118. 118 is bantamweight, 112 is flyweight. I don't know if you need 115, but one, losing a pound when you're in those really lightweight classes means more, like the pound difference. And but you go up to like, okay, welterweight is 147, middleweight is 160. There are some people like just naturally built to be like 155, and it's like you want them to fight at middleweight now. Like you kind of need that junior middleweight. You kind of need super middleweight that's 168 in between that 160, 175. That's a big jump. I think it's look, there's a lot of history, so you're not going to change it. It's silly that light heavyweight is 175, cruiserweight is 200, and you have a 25-pound gap between those two weight classes, and then you're up to heavyweight. Like, if we could redo the weight classes, there's a way that I would probably do it where like
Yeah.
cruiserweight doesn't have 25 pounds, but whatever. But yeah, I think you need some of those like middle tier weight classes. So 8 might be too little, but regardless, no, I don't think Callum Walsh is beating like a top. Like if he fought Xander Zayas today in like his natural weight class, I don't think he's winning that fight. If he fought Abass Baraou, who we just talked about, Sebastian Fundora, and if he goes to middleweight and fights like Carlos Adames, you know what I mean? Like I don't think he's
Oh my
beating those
God, he's
guys.
not beating Carlos Adames.
Right,
What are we
like
talking about here? That's why he's at Zuffa.
well, he don't have to worry about that now.
Well, yeah, but that's the
So,
thing. But that's why he's at Zuffa, because like the real thing is, guys, is that obviously they're gonna build fighters and they're looking at the young amateurs and they're gonna build them up, and those guys are gonna be really good. But that's gonna be kind of the path for a lot of young fighters as this Ali Act does have changes to it, right? Where they try to pretty much get rid of everything in the boxers' rights. I will say this though: you take Callum Walsh and you fight him against Carlos Adames, he's not beating him. There's no way Carlos Adames would wash Callum Walsh. I'll say that right now. And there's a reason why a lot of these fighters are in Zuffa Boxing, because they're not on the same tier as the really good boxers. Like they're like a tier down, Brian, and that's just the truth of it. Unless they start really going, to USA Boxing and focusing on the amateurs and then bringing them into Zuffa, that's when we're really going to see the talent jump. But like the fact of the matter is, Zuffa Boxing is filled with a bunch of boxers who like aren't on the same tier as really, really good boxers. I'll say that.
I think Robert Merriweather's pretty good. We'll see to what degree. I think Omar Trinidad's interesting, but I mean, he's at featherweight, right? So if he
Yeah.
fought a champion there, and he's not championship level yet, but if he fought like Bruce Carrington or Rafael Espinoza, like no,
He's not beating
not.
Rafael Espinoza. Like, what are we doing here?
Like Luis Lopez, who
I like Luis
I think
Lopez.
he's at 130 now, but still, like Floyd Diaz, who fought on ESPN for a little bit, he was on this card too. I never was super high on him, but I also think like this is a good spot for him. Like there's some people where this makes sense career wise. So we'll see. As far as the card this weekend's actually got a couple more interesting cards. Jose Valenzuela is fighting Diego Torres Nunez, who's not really too known. This is back at lightweight, so Rayo moving down from 140. Which if Gary Anton Russell did that to me, I might do the same. And Sergey Bohachuk, who's with Zuffa now, is fighting Radza Butayev, who famously,
This is a good fight.
Famously is a stretch. Notably, to boxing diehards, lost to Emanta Stanionis in a fucking like just a brawl
a
a
great
few
fight.
years ago for a welterweight title. They beat the fuck out of each other. So this is actually a good fight. The Rayo Valenzuela fight. I mean, a lot of people don't know his opponent like that. He's got pop. The one loss on his record was a stoppage to Raymond Muratalla. And this was a few years ago. And that was actually his first fight in the States. And this will be his second fight in the States. As a matter of fact, he's only primarily fought in Mexico, and he hasn't really beaten anybody of note. So this is a good test to see where Rayo is. But we saw the presentation. It's going to be at the Apex again. So it's going to be a dull crowd, and we'll probably have the same commentary team. It's a Sunday with no football, so they're hoping to get some attention with that.
I'm gonna watch it. Like, I think this is a pretty good card. Like, pretty.
Alexander Vosnik is on this too, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna be watching this, and we'll have obviously some things to say later on the week. Remember, Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. That's our new time. Brian, any final thoughts before we trend away from Zuffa?
Comments. We got some
Okay.
comments on this, so
Yeah.
let's do that. Let's do that. I gotta go all the way back up. You guys are bringing it today. Hold on, I gotta be better about. Here we go. Slalomi says, "You're not a fan of Kellerman gargling Dana?" Question mark. He needs to pay for his Hampton summer house. Jesus. No, I'm not. To answer your question, Foxy says the fighters will get a free Zuffa.
Oh
Dana White
yeah,
kept-
the free
Dana White.
the free Zuffa tracksuit. What?
Eddie Hearn kept saying this, like, you get a free tracksuit, you know, like whatever. Like, Eddie Hearn seems to be big on like free swag, which I am too. So I kind of get it.
I love free
wanna,
swag.
I don't
would
wanna
take,
Zuffa.
I would no, if someone sent me a Zuffa tracksuit, I would probably take it.
One thing that you get, I would not. One thing that
I
you
would just
get,
take it.
I would
You
sell
sweat
it.
in it. I'd work out in it. Like I
would
wouldn't be
sell
like
it.
outside. Like,
You're not.
yo, I'm in my
You're
Zuffa.
not catching me with a Zuffa.
Okay, sorry.
fucking, like,
I
in
know
the
what you're
gym.
saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I like
you
free
know what I
shit.
mean? And I'll look like a herb. Like, I'll be at the gym. I'll be at the boxing gym that I go to with Zuffa stuff on.
Well, you
and then
can't
I
do
don't- I
that.
don't-
You'll look like a nerd. if
Right,
you
that's
did
what I'm
that.
saying.
You look like a total geek. I'm just at like the regular gym. Like if I'm trying to look like a bum and I don't got something to wear, I'll throw on the Zuffa tracksuit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Ariane says doesn't like Max. Always thought Max was overrated. Marcus Gabriel's son. Might be how you say that. The balls on Oscar De La Hoya to claim such a thing. He's had horrible working relationships with pretty much everyone who has been under his banner. Foxy, imagine stopping Prince Nassim coming out in his leopard Prince trunks and entrances. Zuffa's removing personality. This is
Yeah.
something that you brought up. Like, yeah, like you can't do the Anthony Joshua and Zuffa where you come out with like, you know, all the pyro and like 4 different songs with the crown and
Yeah,
you
like
know.
we want to see that. That's one of my favorite things about boxing. And like when I was a kid, I remember when Mike Tyson came out to Time for Some Action. And I was like, by Redman. And I was like, whoa, like he was fighting Peter McNeely. And I was a kid and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like Mike Tyson made me love entrances as a kid.
Or
And
the
it's like,
time.
even in wrestling, dude, like entrances are like such a big deal in wrestling, right?
They are.
So it's like, I've always just loved that.
Yeah, and just weirdly, TKO owns WWE. But I mean, look, wrestling fans, if they're being honest, would tell you the WWE product hasn't been that good this past year. And the Royal Rumble is going to be on Saturday in Saudi Arabia. So Turk, I don't know if he's going to be there. He's going to be at the Garden. I have no idea. But Royal Rumble is going to be in Saudi Arabia Saturday. And then they're going to have WrestleMania next year. So we'll see how that goes. More comments. Jesus says Rayo versus Torres will be action. I agree. At a bare minimum, I actually think Rayo might fight this the way he fought Isaac Cruz and try to box more to avoid getting into a brawl. Salome says they even have control of their tattoos for fuck's sakes, just like teenage K-pop idols. Isn't that a show like on Netflix or a show like with a similar name or something like that? I've heard about it. Ali's overrated, Aryan says. Sugar Ray Robinson's the GOAT, but the GOAT of all time in all sport can only be one. Is Diego Maradona. I mean, RIP, Hand of God is one of the funniest things in sports ever. I don't know who I think is the all-time GOAT in sports ever. I got to think about that. Diego Maradona is going to be high on a lot of people's list, though. Foxy says a tattoo with Trump will be fine, though, no doubt for them. LOL. I do wonder that, like, you know, are they going to allow someone to get a Trump tattoo? But if they get a tattoo of like Hassan Piker, are they going to ban them for being in Zuffa? You know what I mean? Like, are you allowed to get a tattoo of Ilhan Omar or AOC or Fidel Castro? You know, like, are they gonna allow Hitler tattoos and not allow like FDR?
Yeah.
JFK? Like, how far does this go?
If you're getting those tattoos, I think you're a geek though. any of
Yeah,
those.
I
Like,
wouldn't
come
get
on,
a
man.
tattoo of of AOC or no,
Or,
totally
or
not.
just of someone's face. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just not big on that. But okay, Foxy, how is Walsh being called a British bum when he isn't even British? Shocking.
Because in the comments they were calling him a British bum. That's why I thought it was
Yeah, yeah,
funny.
which isn't fair. Yeah.
Aryan says should be 5 pound differences in weight classes till 140 and then jump. So that's kind of how it is, or not necessarily 135, 140, but before that is 130 and 126, 122, 118, 115. Yeah, so it would be like 100, 105, 10, 15, 20. Yeah, we know how to add. I don't need to like go through the whole thing, and then jump 10 until 170 and then 185, 200. That's kind of MMA-ish. So I think what you want, I guess, is a cross between the two, where MMA is kind of on one extreme with the weight classes where the gaps are a little too big, and then boxing is where the gaps are a little too small. And if you bridge the two, like you could come to something that I think is great. Um, you could watch the Xander Zayas fight on Deportes in Puerto Rico. By the way, I just got that email from Top Rank. WAPA is how you pronounce that, or is how you spell that rather. So if you're looking for a link, maybe find that broadcast if you know a little bit of Spanish or don't care. Just want like a better quality broadcast. Is it any better to? Okay, we got off that conversation already. Ryan Hong says Bohachuk and Batayev should be the main event. He also thinks Batayev is going to win this fight for the upset, and also thinks Vosdik is going to lose 100%. Okay, Jesus wants Muratalla versus Cruz.
Yeah, we had this on our docket, but we've had so much to talk about. Muratalla ended up defeating Andy Cruz.
Wait. Ryan Hall says Maradona won the World Cup while he had 2 women pregnant and neither of them knew the other. He's a legend.
I mean,
it's terrible that I'm
it is
laughing
what it
at
is.
that. But hey,
it's factual. It is factual. But nonetheless, and at the time, like, you know, you could arguably say that he was the best of his time too. At the same time,
nice.
Jesus, yeah. So we've been trying to talk about Muratalla and Andy Cruz. So Muratalla defeated Andy Cruz. And Brian, what were your thoughts on this? And what did you think about Andy Cruz?
I thought Andy Cruz was fine. I just think Raymond Muratalla outperformed expectations. I think Andy Cruz, he actually like did a number on Muratalla's face. Muratalla went out and said like he doesn't have power, he should move down. And it's like he had 2 big marks on his face from the fight. The punch stats indicated that it was a really close fight. I thought it was. I thought Muratalla won the fight though, to be clear. I kind of thought a draw would have been fair, but I think Muratalla winning made more sense at 7-5. There was a 118, 110 that was outrageous. So it was a 115, 113 fight. I didn't think Andy Cruz did enough to win, but I thought he was fine. Eddie Hearn says he doesn't regret the matchmaking, like in terms of rushing him in the pros. I do think there's something to be said for you have to be careful with these guys who you want as like super prospects, because even Keyshawn Davis is one where they moved him up really quickly and he seemed to be handling it well. But then you see the little warts, and now did it get to him too quickly? He's not even close to 20 fights into his career, and we've already seen a lot. And now he's going to face Jermaine Ortiz, which is not going to be a gimme. It's going to be a tough stylistic fight that could fucking piss him off and frustrate him. But I think Muratalla is like a real dude. I'll give Rayo Valenzuela credit because I asked him, who do you think is the most underrated boxer right now, a year ago before he fought Gary Antoine Russell. And he said Raymond Muratalla. He thought Raymond Muratalla is like really stepped on. He thought he was just all around just a little bit better than what people were giving him credit for. And you saw that. Like, I like the way he dealt with the footwork and the defense. His pressure was really, really good. His punch selection was really good. If he fights like that, I think he can frustrate a lot of dudes in that 135, 140 range. He talked about wanting the winner of the Teofimo Lopez Shakur Stevenson fight. I would love that. I actually think if he does already want to move up to 140, I think he's big enough, strong enough to do it. And like I could see him pissing off either one of those guys. I don't think he'll win, but I don't want to overdo like this performance because we do that a lot in boxing. But this showed some improvement. this wasn't the guy who struggled with Tevin Farmer. This wasn't the guy who underperformed before that. Like, I think he made a real leap here because I think Andy Cruz is legitimately really talented and will be back in the championship picture quickly.
Yeah, Raymond Muratalla just showed that he's not just a guy that's going to be a pressure fighter. He boxed really well in this fight, and he kind of changed up his game plan. I thought it was a really close fight. I hated that 118-110 scorecard. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. And I also think there were some swing rounds, though, Brian. I think some rounds could have gone to Andy Cruz, depending on how you were going to score it. And so if someone had 115, 113 Andy Cruz, I actually wouldn't have been surprised. But I thought Raymond Muratalla did enough to win the fight, and I thought he boxed really well. And in those, and Foxy brought up right now, Muratalla took it in those final rounds. I just thought he was the more aggressive fighter, obviously, and he kept on coming forward. And as you know, like, judges like to look at that and like to give fighters the round when they're dominating the fight in terms of moving forward. But Andy Cruz is a great counterpuncher. And so we saw Raymond Muratalla's face after the fight. Andy Cruz did touch him up a lot. It was a very, very close fight, but I think Raymond Muratalla boxed his best fight of his career, Brian, in this Andy Cruz fight. And now we're talking about him in this weight class where we're like, hey, is Shakur Stevenson going to plan to come back down? But I would love to see Keyshawn Davis and Muratalla. Would you not want to see that, Brian? That is the fight, I think, to make in the weight class.
Well, Raymond Muratalla is going to have to move up because I don't think Keyshawn's coming all the way back down. And Keyshawn, he seems to want to fight at welterweight, apparently.
He does, yeah.
Okay. I mean, he didn't show that much power at lightweight to make me think. But he's also young and probably growing more into, like, listen, he's just better at 147 than 135. He was good at 135.
I just don't see Shakur coming back down after he moves to 140. I don't see him coming back down in this weight class. Do you?
No, probably not.
And Shakur also has said on record, like, I'm not going to fight Keyshawn. He said he's not going to fight his brother. So that's a fight we're not going to see.
Let's stare at the rankings really quickly. Now, IBF has not, I don't think they've updated, actually. Let me check real quick. Updates, IBF, no, January 7th. Nobody has updated really in 3 weeks. So that's interesting. We have a couple that still have to update for this month. So they honestly, they might be waiting for this next fight. So we'll do this and then wrap. Raymond Muratalla. I think Floyd Schofield's going to fight Lucas Body for the vacant WBA now that Gervonta Davis is locked up.
Yes, and Lucas Body like really rose on those rankings, by the way. But big fan, he's Canadian, so I'll be going for him against. I'll be going for him against Kid Austin. But I think Kid Austin's hella talented. Very, very good fight. I think a really interesting one, obviously, is Joe Cordina and Abdullah Mason.
I think that one's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if it doesn't. Yair Herrera should not have an interim title. Like, he's not. He's clearly like talented, but he's not like a world championship level. He's not that right now. He's really raw. He's also super young. I think he's a fucking knockout artist, but so if Raymond Muratalla wants to fight him, sure. This weight class all of a sudden like just got really like wonky after it was really strong. And now it's like, okay, so wait, Raymond Muratalla is the best at 135 now because Shakur might be leaving and Gervonta Davis might be done. Or is it Abdullah Mason already? Like, we had depth in this weight class, and now I'm staring at.
I don't think there's that much depth in this weight class right now.
Had it, yeah.
Lamont Roach is an interesting one. Like, I think Lamont Roach and Raymond Muratalla would also be a good fight. And I want to see Sam Noakes again. And Sam Noakes' last fight, I became a huge fan of his. A huge fan.
Roach could run it back with Cruz. I think Lamont Roach should be the WBA champion, but
hey, that's how it goes sometimes. Let's get to some comments, Brian, before we get up out of here. Okay, so Salome says, I want a Cruz to win. Now Keyshawn will never reunite with his father. Okay. Also, Jesus says, Brian, those marks on Muratalla's eyes are more scratch punches, not swollen up. Muratalla says he didn't feel his punches. His face looked a little bit different more than scratch punches, in my opinion. But
I can say that all the time. I don't know.
Yeah. And also Ryan Shepard, good friend of the show, says Herrera versus Zepeda would be fun. Very fun. I think Herrera, though, like, he's still a little bit raw. Brian, any final thoughts before we get up out of here? And by the way, guys, I'm sorry. I have a flight to catch And so we had to cut this a little bit short, but just so many topics today.
Flights over feelings.
Not when it's for work. So I wish it was for that, but yeah.
Do you care that Tyson Fury is fighting on Netflix in April? It's the last thing we haven't addressed. He's fighting Arslanbek Makhmudov. This is on April 11th. This is going to be in England, and this is going to be on Netflix. And don't know who else is going to be on the card. Makhmudov has been stopped by Ajit Caballel and Guido Vianello, and is getting a Tyson Fury fight on Netflix.
I'm going to watch it because it's Tyson Fury. Obviously, this is going to be a tune-up fight, but it just kind of leads me to think, like, is that Anthony Joshua fight in play? We know he just went through like a terrible tragedy, losing two of his best friends. But I think that is the play after the Tyson Fury fight. I do think Anthony Joshua will be back. But I'm going to watch Tyson Fury, and I want to see how he looks, and I think he's going to dominate in that fight.
Since it's a Frank Warren promoted card, I have a sneaky suspicion we might see Joshua Buatsi on this one.
Oh my, I'd never want to see Joshua Buatsi in my life. I don't even want to talk about him on the show. Like, he is banned. I don't want him mentioned on here. He made me lose $2,000.
I'll say the last thing before we get out of here. Two things. One, programming note for us. We will have a post-fight live show this weekend. We'll talk about all the fights. We will talk about Xander's fight. We'll talk about, obviously, the MSG card. We'll talk about Josh Kelly and Murtazaliev a little bit. And maybe some last notes on Zuffa, if there are any, but we'll mainly keep it to that. On my channel, I'll be posting an interview with Eddie Hearn literally this afternoon. So go subscribe, watch that. It was just one-on-one for about 15 minutes. So, and we talked about like big picture boxing stuff. I didn't just ask about like, you know, whatever people are asking Eddie Hearn about these days.
All right, y'all. We'll see you Saturday after the fights. Join us for the post-fight show. Hang out with us. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you Saturday night.